scene one, and we're getting down to here. We're in the last two scenes of the play, and I think this might be my favorite scene in the play. Hamlet in the graveyard. This scene shows the full range of Shakespeare. We have the grave diggers at the beginning here, and there's a little bit of comic relief, and then we have Hamlet again, really ruminating, uh, emotionally venting about Ophelia, and then Yorick, and we have a little action scene with the Laertes and Hamlet here. So this scene has, and it's a brilliant scene too. Uh, Coming after those really short staccato scenes, we have a longer scene that has the full range of emotions and action. That is the penultimate scene to the final scene of the play. And again, like I've been saying, I don't know. You know, I'm a little sad to see Hamlet ending. It's such a brilliant play. Call my bluff. Is there a character before Hamlet in literature who has this range of emotions? Hamlet is humanity representative. All, anger, sadness, emotion, revenge. We want revenge. We don't want to do it. We act. We can't act. So let's jump into it. Here's a brief synopsis on the entire act. Act 5. Ophelia's madness and subsequent drowning precipitates a confrontation between Laertes and Hamlet at her grave. But Claudius intervenes, privately assuring Laertes that his revenge will come in the duel which has been arranged. Hamlet seals the fate of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern by substituting another letter in the envelope which originally contained his own death orders, requesting that the King of England put them to death. In spite of Horatio's concern, Hamlet agrees to the duel with Laertes and appears before the court as requested. Not only does Claudius poison the tip of the sword, he also offers Hamlet a drink from a poison cup. Instead, Gertrude drinks from the cup and swoons from the effect of the poison, her dying words warning Hamlet of the plot against him. As the duel progresses, Laertes and Hamlet inadvertently exchange swords during a scuffle. Consequently, both are mortally wounded, although Hamlet manages to fatally wound Claudius as well. As the play closes, Fortinbras arrives, victorious over Poland, and the dying Hamlet names him as the new king. Fortinbras pays tribute to Hamlet and arranges for an appropriate burial. That's the play. Here's the quick synopsis of this scene. Hamlet, returning from his journey, comes upon a grave digger singing as he digs. Hamlet tries to find out who the grave is for and reflects on the skulls that are being dug up. A funeral procession approaches. Hamlet soon realizes that the corpse is Ophelia's. When Laertes, in his grief, leaps into her grave and curses Hamlet as the cause of Ophelia's death, Hamlet comes forward. He and Laertes struggle with Hamlet protesting his own love and grief for Ophelia. So, again, if you're writing your paper on Ophelia, this would be a good moment to quote from here. The clown or the gravedigger. The terms are interchangeable here, clown or gravedigger. Is she to be buried in Christian burial when she willfully seeks her own salvation? I tell thee she is, therefore make her grave straight. Straight away. The crowner has set on her and finds it Christian burial. How can that be unless she drowned herself in her own defense? So, to have a Christian burial, as you all know, suicide is, you can't have a Christian burial if you're a suicide. So they're debating on the burial here. Why 'tis found so. It must be, say, offendendo, blunder for a legal term in self-defense. It cannot be else, for here lies at the point. If I drown myself wittingly, it argues an act, and an act hath three branches. It is to act, to do, to perform. She drowned herself wittingly? Nay, but hear you, goodman Delver. Give me leave. Here lies the water. Good. Here stands the man. Good. So the clowns / grave diggers are debating these points here. It's supposed to be, it's both gallows humor and a little comic relief at this moment. If the man go to this water and drown himself, it is, will he or will not he not, whether he will or will not. He goes, mark you that, but if the water come to him and drown him, he drowns not himself. Argal, he that is not guilty of his own death, shortens not his own life. But is this the law? Mary it is, Crowner's Quest. The Crowner's Quest here, the inquest. Will you have the truth on it? If this had not been a gentlewoman, she should have been buried out of the Christian burial. If this isn't a gentlewoman here, right? If this wasn't Ophelia, she would have been buried out in like the potter's, not a Christian burial here. Why there thou sayest, and the more pity that great folk should have countenance, privilege, in this world to drown or hang themselves more than they're even Christian. Come, my spade, there is no ancient gentleman but gardeners, ditchers, and grave makers. They hold up Adam's profession. So this moment here, Adam's profession, the Boron's coat of arms here, Adam's profession, we keep up the profession. There'll always be grave diggers. There'll always be these people. Was he a gentleman? Adam. He was the first that ever bore arms. What, art a heathen? How dost thou understand the scripture? The scripture says Adam digged. Could he dig without arms? I'll put another question to thee. So we have a little comic relief here. It's funny because to the two grave diggers, the body is just a body is just a body. It's both comic and tragic. We got the dark comedy here. We know maybe we don't know yet, but we will know it's Ophelia's body they're talking about. We do know it's Ophelia's body they're talking about. I'll put another question to thee. If thou answerest me not to the purpose, confess thyself. Go to. What is he that builds stronger than either the mason, the shipwright, or the carpenter? The gallows maker, for that frame outlives 1,000 tenants. I like thy wit well in good faith. The gallows does well, but how does it well? It does well to those that do ill. Now thou dost ill to say the gallows is built stronger than a church? Argyle, the gallows may do well to thee. To it again, come. Who builds stronger than a mason, a shipwright, or a carpenter? Ah, tell me that and unyoke. Marry, now I can tell. To it. Mass, I cannot tell. By the mass. So they're going back and forth. Enter Hamlet and Horatio. Here's the clown / gravedigger singing here. Cudgel thy brains no more about it, for your dull ass will not mend his pace with beating. And when you are asked this question next, say a grave maker. The grave maker, the houses he makes last till doomsday. Go get thee in and fetch me a stoop of liquor. So they're like bantering back and forth in here. In youth when I did love, here's the grave digger singing. The grave digger digs and sings. In youth when I did love, methought it was very sweet to contract the time for I might behoove. Methought that it was nothing in the Hamlet. Has this fellow no feeling of his business? Sings in grave making? It was like, what the hell, right? You're digging graves and you're singing. Yeah. Custom hath made it him a property of easiness. He's used to it. Horatio, he's used to it. This is just a job to him. 'Tis in so. The hand of little employment hath the daintier sense, is more sensitive. This is such that the hand of little employment. Office workers have a daintier sense than grave diggers. Grave diggers have hard, rough, callous hands. So that means you have a hard, rough, calloused exterior. The clown grave digger singing some more. But age with his stealing steps hath clawed me in his clutch, and hath shipped me into the land as if I had never been such. Throws up a skull. Here, the skull. He's just throwing up the skull. That skull had a tongue in it. And Hamlet is really, these moments where Hamlet is really reflecting the skull, the death, life. Once this was a person. The skull had a tongue in it, and it could sing once. How the knave jowls, how he hurls it to the ground as if 'twere Cain's jawbone that did the first murder. He's just throwing the skull around like it's nothing. This might be the pate of a politician, which this ass now reaches over, has the advantage over. One that would circumvent God, might it not? It might, my lord. Or of a courtier, which could say, Good morrow, sweet lord, how does thou, sweet lord? This might be my lord such a one that praised my lord such a one's horse that went to beg it not. I, my lord. This was a person, this skull, all the people in the graveyards, they lived lives. Why and so now my lady's worm, Hamlet's ruminating eternally here. Chapless and knocked about the mazer with a sexton spade. Chapless lacking the lower jaw, mazered the head. Here's a fine revolution, and we had the trick to see it. Did these bones cost no more the breeding but to play at logets with them? Mine ache to think on it. And the gravedigger, the clown still singing. A pickaxe and a spade for enshrouding sheet. Oh, a pit of clay for to be made for such a guest to meet. Throws up another skull. Here's more skulls coming up. There's another. Why may not that be the skull of a lawyer? Where he is quiddities, the quiddities here, subtle arguments, fine distinctions. Now he quilities, his cases, his tenures, and his tricks. Why does he suffer this mad knave not to knock him about the sconce? The sconce here, the head, with a dirty shovel, and will not tell him of his action of battery. This fellow might be in times a great buyer of land, with his statutes, his recognizances, his fines, his double vouchers, his recoveries. Is this the fine of his fines and the recovery of his recoveries? To have his fine pate full of fine dirt? Is this what we work all of our life, All the lawyers, all the things, is this it? Will his vouchers vouch him no more of his purchases? And double once two than the length and breadth of a pair of indentures, contracts? The very conveyances are legal documents for the transference of land, of his lands will scarcely lie in the box. And must the inheritor himself have no more? Ha! Not a jot more, my lord. Is not parchment made of sheepskins? Ay, my lord, and of calfskins too. They are sheep, and calves which seek out assurance in that. I will speak to this fellow. Whose grave's this? Sirrah. Whose grave's this? The gravedigger. Mine, sir. Right? Hamlet's asking, who lies here? And the gravedigger, it's my grave, I'm digging it. So there's a moment of comedy, right? This is such I love these, gallows humor. We have the gallows humor here where the gravedigger is laughing and carrying on. Hamlet is in this morose philosophical contemplation. Oh, a pit of clay to be made for such a guest as meet. I think it be thine indeed, for thou liest in it. You lie out on it, sir, and therefore 'tis not yours. For my part, I do not lie in it, yet it is mine. Gravediggers and clowns throughout Shakespeare, Hamlet, Shakespeare gives them beautiful speech. They always have an insight. They're always telling a truth. They know more than sometimes the high court people do. Thou dost lie in it to be in it, and say it is thine. 'Tis for the dead, not for the quick. 'Tis for the dead, not for the quick, the living. The quick means living here. Therefore thou liest. 'Tis a quick lie, sir. 'Twill away again from me to you. What man dost thou dig it for? For no man, sir. What woman then? For none neither, sir. For none neither. So, Hamlet, who is this grave for? And we're going to find out it's for Ophelia. What woman then? For none neither. Who is to be buried in it? One that was a woman, sir, but rest her soul, she's dead. Hamlet, how absolute the knave is. How positive, decided. We must speak by the card, or equivocation will undo us. By the Lord, Horatio, this 3 years I have took note of it, the age is grown so picked, refined, that the toe of the peasant comes so near the heel of the courtier he calls his kib. How long hast thou been a grave maker? Of all the days in the year, I came to that day our last King Hamlet overcame Fortinbras. How long is that since? Cannot you tell that? Every fool can tell that. It was the very day that young Hamlet was born. He that is mad and sent to England. So the gravedigger clown doesn't know he's talking to Hamlet, and he's given a little backstory here, right? Ay, Mary, why was he sent to England? Why? Because he was mad. I shall recover his wits there, or if I do not, 'tis no great matter there. Why? 'Twill not be seen in him there. There the men are as mad as he. How came he mad? Hamlet's asking, very strangely, they say. How strangely? Faith earned with losing his wits. Upon what ground? Why, here in Denmark. I have been sexton here, man and boy, 30 years. This tells us Hamlet's age. I've been a grave digger for as long since Hamlet was born. I've been a grave digger 30 years. Hamlet's 30 years old. How long will a man lie? How long will a man lie in the earth ere he rot? Faith, if he not be rotten before he die, if he's not a rotten soul before he dies, as we have many pocky corpses, bodies of persons who have been infected with the pox. Nowadays that will scarce hold the laying in. A will last you some 8 year, 9 year. A tanner will last you 9 year. Why he more than another? Why, sir, his hide is so tan with his trade, that it will keep out water a great while, and your water is a sore decayer of your horse undead body. Here's a skull now hath lain you the earth 3 and 20 years. Whose was it? A whoreson mad fellow's it was. Whose do you think it was? Nay, I know not. A pestilence on him for a mad rogue. A poured a flagon of Rhenish on my head once. The same skull. So here's the clown, or the clown gravedigger, holding the skull of Yorick, the king's jester, the king's clown, right? This, Aaron, that. Let me see. And here's the famous scene. Hamlet holding the skull, really ruminating on time, life, everything that people, let me see. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him. Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest. Infinite Jest, we get the David Foster Wallace novel title from that, of most excellent fancy. He hath borne me on his back 1,000 times, and now how abhorred in my imagination it is. My gorge rises at it. Here hung those lips that I have kissed I know not how often. Where be your jibs now, your gambols, your songs, your flashes of merriment that were wont to set the table on a roar? Not one now to mock your own gritting, quite chapfallen, down in the mouth, jawless, just a skull, right? Now get you to my lady's chamber and tell her, let her paint an inch thick to this favor. She must come. Make her laugh at that. Prithee, Horatio, tell me one thing. This Yorick, who I known all my life, now reduced to dust, thinking about all those memories, the playing, the dancing, the singing. Now I'm holding your skull in my hand. What's that, my lord? Does thou think Alexander looked at this fashion of the earth? Did Alexander the Great look like this once he was dead? Just a skull in my hand? Aaron so, and smelt so. Pah! He puts the skull down. Even so, my lord. Hamlet, to what base uses we may return? We're in this life now, but we're just going to be back. Horatio, why may not imagination trace the noble dust of Alexander till it find it stopping a bunghole? We're back to dust, from dust to dust, right? Twere to consider too curiously, to consider so. No faith, not a jot, but to follow him thither with modesty enough, and likelihood to lead it. As thus Alexander died, Alexander was buried. Alexander returneth to dust. The dust is earth. Of earth we make loam. And why of that loam whereto he was converted might they not stop a beer barrel? Imperious Caesar, dead and turned to clay, might stop a hole to keep the wind away. Oh, that earth which kept the world in awe should patch a wall to expel the winter's flaw. But soft, wow, here comes the king. Hamlet, all these great men, just dust, right? Here comes the king, Laertes in a coffin with Ophelia's body. But soft a while. Yeah, here comes the king. The queen, the courtiers, who is that they follow? And with such maimed rites, this doth betoken the course they follow, did with desperate hand fordo its own life. 'Twas of some estate. Couch we a while a mark. What ceremony else? Hamlet. That is Laertes, a very noble youth, mark. What ceremony else? Her obsequies have been as far and large as we have warranty. Her death was doubtful. Suspicious. Her death was suspicious. How did Ophelia die? Suicide, right? And by that great command, but they want her to be buried in a Christian burial. And but that great command o'ersways the order, she should in ground unsanctified been lodged to the last trumpet for charitable prayers. Shards, broken pieces of pottery, flints and pebbles should be thrown on her, yet here she is allowed her virgin krantz, garlands, her maiden struments. So, she should be thrown in the other, but here she's allowed this Christian burial, and the bringing home of bell and ritual. Must there be no more done? No more done. We should profane the service of the dead to sing a requiem and such rest to her as to peace-parted souls. Lay her in the earth, and from her fair and unpolluted flesh may violets spring. May violets spring. I tell thee, churlish priest. He's a churlish priest because the priest is not really showing any kind of emotion here, any compassion. A ministering angel shall my sister be when thou liest howling. Hamlet. What? This is Hamlet discovering the body, because the grave diggers were telling it was a woman, but they didn't tell it. What? The fair Ophelia? Hamlet, the recognition here. And this is a moment, right? What? And the fair Ophelia. Sweets to the sweet, farewell. I hope thou shouldst have been my Hamlet's wife. I thought thy bride bed to have decked, sweet maid, and not have strewed the grave. Laertes, the brother, O treble woe, fall 10 times treble on that cursed head, whose wicked deed thy most ingenious sense. He's cursing Hamlet here, right? He's cursing Hamlet. Deprive thee of, hold off the earth a while, till I have caught her once more in my arms. He jumps in the grave to hold Ophelia. Now pile your dust upon the quick and the dead, till of this flat a mountain you have made. To overtop old Pelion, according to classical legend, giants in their flight with the gods sought to have reached heaven by piling Mount Pelion and Mount Ossa on Mount Olympus, the sky should have blue Olympus. What is Hamlet here? What is he whose grief bears such an emphasis? Whose phrase of sorrow conjures the wandering stars, the planets, and makes them stand like wander-wounded hearers? This is I, Hamlet the Dane. So Hamlet, Laertes cursing Hamlet, and in his grief, the devil take thy soul. Here's the fight, it goes from, I love this scene, it goes from that contemplation, and then here's the action scene, they're fighting, they grapple. Hamlet, thou prayest not well, I prithee take thy fingers from thy throat, for though I am splentive and rash, yet have I in me something dangerous. Yeah. Though I am rash, not splentive and rash, I am not splentive and rash. Splentive here, fiery. I'm not as fiery, yet have I in me something dangerous. I have in me something dangerous, which let thy wisdom fear. Hold off thy ham. Pluck them asunder. Hamlet, Hamlet. Good my lord, be quiet. Hamlet. Why, I will fight with him upon this theme until my eyelids will no longer wag. Hamlet's he's mad too, right? He's upset, he's brokenhearted too. Oh, my son, what theme? I loved Ophelia. Here's Hamlet, even though it's too late, right? I loved Ophelia. 40,000 brothers could not with all their quantity of love make up my sum. What wilt thou do for her? I loved Ophelia. Here it is, right? Hamlet's not mad, acting mad, Oh, he is mad. He's not, though. For love of God, forbear him. Swoons, God's wounds, right? Show me what thou do. Weep? Would you weep? Would you fight? Would you fast? Would you tear thyself? Would you drink up Isel vinegar? Eat a crocodile? I like that. I'm willing to do, I'll do it. I'll eat a crocodile. Dost thou come here to whine? To outface me with leaping with the grave? Be buried quick with her, and so will I. And if thou prate of mountains, let them throw millions of acres on us, till our ground singeing his pate against the burning zone. Make Ossa like a wart, nay, and then thou mouth, I'll rant as well as thou. Obviously, Hamlet will rant as well as Laertes, but I'll eat a croc. I'm willing to, Hamlet is just fighting mad here, right? This is mere madness, but he's not. But he's so upset, so distraught. This is mere madness, and thus a while the fit will work on him. Anon as patient as the female dove, when that her golden couplets are disclosed. The dove lays eggs. Her silence will sit drooping. Hear you, sir. What is the reason that you use me thus? I loved you ever. But it is no matter. Let Hercules himself do what he may. The cat will mew and the dog will have his day. There we got the famous phrase, every dog will have his day. Hamlet, remember earlier in an early soliloquy, I'm the opposite of Hercules. Now, damn Hercules. I'm fighting. I'm going, I'm doing it right now, right? I pray thee, good Horatio, wait upon him. Strengthen your patience in our last night's speech. We'll put the matter to the present push. Good Gertrude, set some watch over your son. This grave shall have a living monument. An hour of quiet thereby shall we see. Till then, in patience our proceeding be. So there's the penultimate, the scene before the final scene, where we have the graveyard, Hamlet, Laertes, Hamlet, uh, Ophelia's body, and the clowns. Just a brilliant emotional, psychological, philosophical scene before the final scene.